And thank you for joining us for the Real Talk live streaming event for, oh my gosh, I can't even believe it's March of 2026. How time flies. I just want to first off say thank you to everyone for supporting. Please like and share this. If you have questions or support, please share that with our great police department across the board. But I have Deputy Chief Chris Morales in the house today. How are you doing there, Chris?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You know, I've seen you out and about and very active in the community. We just had the event over at the library or STC, and had the luncheon there and got the state of the city, which I think is phenomenal. But
Yes.
what was your interpretation of the state of the city address?
Is we're growing and we're continuing to growing and we're not going to stop. And the city's got some challenges ahead, but nothing that's going to stop us to what we know needs to be done for the city in order to thrive and to grow. And like I said, the future is very exciting for the city of Northport, just to see the hospitals plural that are getting ready are already in construction. This is something that I remember talks of when I was a kid here in Northport about the need for a hospital, and it seemed like it was just something that I probably said to myself, I'll probably never see that in my lifetime here. But that's probably one of the biggest excitements, is to see the rapid growth of the city, and what's the future bringing to the city here. It's very very thrilling to see that growth explode.
So I'm gonna throw in some kudos at the same time, because there are very few uh, that are Floridians, true Floridians. You're one of them. Your brother, Quality TV.
Yep.
A little shout out for him. But you guys are thickest thieves right here in the city of Northport, and have been for a lot of years. How I don't know if I've asked you this directly, but how many years have you actually resided in Northport?
So 47 years for me. I was born in Port Charlotte. Obviously, there wasn't a hospital in Northport, but I was born Port Charlotte, Florida, and my family moved here from New York, in Jersey in 1970, to the city of Northport. So we've had a very long footprint, long standing here, and seen a lot of growth. Areas of the city that were just nothing but just desolate woods and abandoned streets are now full of residential houses and infrastructure. It's just amazing to see.
Well, and I'm going to give a shout out to Sean Burrows. He's the first liker that we have on the screen. So Sean's very active with the Chamber of Commerce. So I figure he's plugging that away too a little bit. But
Sean's a good man.
Yeah. So you have a different interpretation, and we've talked about it in the past. But your interpretation of how the city currently and the police department currently are situated for the safest protection. Kind of give an overview of how you view it. We've been through a lot of things. So we've addressed a lot of issues as we have gone through some of the national press type stuff. But how would you assess how we sit now in comparison, not as a downfall, but as really just a upward momentum movement to keep our city safe?
Yeah, I can tell you, like, we've learned from our mistakes, the truth be told, in the city here, where we've had, just like you said, some major incidences in the past that have really made us look back at and go, how do we prevent that from ever happening again? And our city government have taken great strides. Our city leadership, our chief, we've taken great strides in keeping our city safe, with the use of technology in our department, the growth of our department that we've forecasted, and we continue to forecast, even though we're probably not keeping up with the rapid growth of the city. But I can tell you, with the technology we use today, um, uh, undoubtedly makes us probably one of the safest cities in the city and in the state of Florida. And I'm very proud to say that, and I will always stand behind that. The men and women that
Yeah,
we have in the department that go out each and every day, they're absolutely amazing. And we've always stood by Chief Garrison, and I have always stood by, if we give them the tools, we give them the equipment, and we give them the support, they're going to go out there and they're going to protect and defend our citizens and keep our community safe.
you know, we're kind of blessed to have you part of it because you grew up here. You've seen a lot of things. We also have a lot of local police officers now, part of our police force. You've got the Brandon McHales that are out there that graduated Northport High School, and Chris Clark, and
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of. I bring them into the mix because that local feel we have not lost. We've kept it. We've now transitioned from looking elsewhere for police uh, vacancies, and we're filling those within a lot of times. How do you feel that we're managing keeping the youth engaged with the police department? We've kind of a small disconnect with the transition now that the police department is not inside the schools like they were before. But how does that relate to success now that there's some differences?
Are you referring to the schools, or the differences back when we used to have the schools? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I kind of a combination of both because when you guys were in the schools, you were an influence for a lot of those kids. Um, we don't we do have some influence there now, but I don't think it's as sharp as what you guys were doing. Um,
Well, well, times have changed. I mean, let's roll back the clocks when, in 1984, I was the first elementary class of what is Glen Allen Elementary, was back then called Northport Elementary School, which was the only school in the city of Northport. Back then, the role model at that time was a school resource officer. And at the time, they really weren't out there for the security. They were out there for exactly what you were talking about, that mentorship, stay away from drugs, DARE, which very big supporter of DARE, drug abuse resistant education, that really, I think helped me. If it saves one kid, I'm the one right there, then it worked, right? So fast forward, Columbine situations, that occur, violence in the schools, and really the SRO of schools changed to where it wasn't more about education class, and it was more about, you're hyper vigilant now, you're on alert, you're checking. So that the times have changed to that, to where, the traditional school resource officer, and not to say that they still can't come and they still network with the kids and mentor the kids and all that, but it's really taken a toll that you're a hyper vigilant when you're a school resource officer on these school campuses now, in protecting the children from violence. And I can tell you right now is what we're doing in fostering that relationship more with the communities, that, we hold events, the National Night Out, we're going to do Coffee with a Cop, we're going to do Pizza with the Police here soon in the next few months. And our officers doing challenges, whether it's a softball at the high school, or or a tug of war event, or a basketball game at the Morgan Center. These are the things that you have to say, how do we get out of the box? Even some of our officers, they keep footballs in their car, right? They keep footballs in their car because they might roll up to a park and see kids playing, and they'll just get out there and just start throwing the football. And believe it or not, those are things that one of those kids are going to remember when they get older. I remember that officer one day just stopped and started throwing a football with me. And that's how you build those relationships. That's how you teach those kids to come to the officers, not run away from the officers. And putting that, humanizing the badge, right?
yep.
Is what we try to do.
Well, and that's kind of been your forte for a long time. You've been I think you've been through the gamut on doing that sort of thing pretty much the whole time you've been a police officer here in Northport.
Oh yeah.
And so you've seen that transition. Where do you see us going in the future? I know we could talk hours about the need for the police station, but couple that in a different way. The protection level that we have today is still, I think it's under. We still have some vacancies out there, I think, right?
Talking about for officer positions,
Yeah.
I think we have about five or six vacancies right now. Yes.
Yeah. So even though we're like the place to come to, we still have the vacancies, but with what you guys do and how you manage things, aren't we still protected to a really high level?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say, it comes with the caliber of the officers you get. And again, in the law enforcement world, there's always a competition in making sure your officers, their benefits, their comparables to other agencies are comparably matched. And it's honestly, it's about, do you enjoy coming to work? Are they appreciated and all that? That takes a big factor into why officers stay. And you can see we don't have many turnovers in our police department. As a matter of fact, we have our officers that are recruiting friends and family members and stuff to come to work for the police department, because it is a great agency. It is a great city. The leadership team in the past has city manager and city commissioners have done a really good job keeping our police department ahead of the curve and not putting us in a position to where we're the underdogs. City manager's always been about, we need to stay competitive. We're not going to be the best. We're not going to be the top. We're certainly not going to be the last. And he's always kept us in that median. And I have to say, a lot of that, we are, Northport, when I started here, John, back in the days, we used to be a training ground. There used to be, where officers would come here and get a little bit of training because, they couldn't get anywhere else. And then the other agencies would pick them up and they would have to do less training with them. And, the city had to start all over again, where the agencies in the cities are putting the most money into training an officer, starting up an officer. You're putting people in time with them and training them, because it takes, from the time an officer's hired with us, it takes 18 weeks of continuous training with them, where they're with someone every single day until they're released on their own and they become solo. So the city has done in my tenure here, has done a phenomenal job in keeping the comparable pays around our local partners very competitive, to where people, they're not leaving, they're staying here, whether it is $6,000-7,000 more, up the street. They're happy here. They enjoy coming to work. They're appreciated, and we appreciate them. I'm only good because of the men and women that are out there, providing safety to our community. So my hats are off to the men and women of the Northport Police Department that makes our agency shine, and we appreciate them each and every day. And again, just to alliterate, it's not just the men and women in those cars driving around. It's the unsung heroes in the background, our telecommunicators, our crime scene technicians, our record checks, all of them. They cannot do our job without them.
Yeah, well, you swapped something out last month, and I hadn't talked to Linda Yates for a long time. I truly enjoyed that interview because I learned so much about the back side of what her job was, and her interpretation of things, and it was really good to engage with her at that level. Plus, being a past city commissioner, her aspect of how things looked, and those things. You talk about the connections within. We've got the past city commissioners who are now part of the police department. She's not like overly vocal, but man, I got to tell you, the knowledge that she had and that she gave me, it was powerful. I truly enjoyed that interview.
Yeah, and Linda, she's very, very humble. She's a very humble woman of what she does, but she has, on top of her being very humble, she really values and appreciates the position she's in, and she respects the law. And I can tell you right now, under 119, that is a very robust, very complicated law to follow and make sure you're doing you're providing what is available. You're protecting those that need to be protected. You're not violating anyone's rights or violation of any laws of the city or the department and putting it back. She's got tremendous responsibility, and that is a department that's continuing to grow in our department. The demand and what's driving that force is not it's not just our call volumes going up, John. Technology. What's technology? Body worn cameras.
Yep.
People are seeing the value in the body worn cameras and the demand for body worn cameras, which we knew when we first went to the cameras that was going to. But ironically enough, it took several years for that research to show that the value we were going to need that position. When it first started off, we were the new kids on the block. We were the only ones with body worn cameras in the region. But as more and more started getting body worn cameras and the word got out, the demand for body worn cameras started to increase from outsiders, internal requests. So it was basically it's an eye opener right now to where that demand is continuously growing.
That's fantastic. So I'm gonna go back to a question here real quick. Elaine Emmerich, who is also running for city commissioner, asked Chris if he remembers years ago when we were stuck at 98 to 100 officers, and the former chief would not hire officers despite steady growth.
Yeah, there 98 to 100 officers back then, and that was, and I actually have a chart to show exactly what Elaine was mentioning was we were not growing, we were staying stagnant, status quo, so to speak. And even during the recession, believe it or not, even during the recession, our population, believe it or not, was still growing. So like she's saying, for all those years, and I want to say it was a good 6-7 years, we had no growth. Well, guess what happens? That becomes compounding. And we're kind of where we are today, where we're starting to say we need to play catch up, and we're talking large numbers of increase, officers needed in order to keep our response times low, to get our priority calls at a performance measured need in the city. Because one of the great struggles, as you all know, in our city of 104 square miles is the infrastructure. And when I talk about infrastructure, I'm not talking about pipes and all that. I'm talking about roadways, arterial roadways that allow us to traverse from one side to the other. And as of right now, that's very limited between 41 Price Boulevard and the interstate. So it makes it very, very challenging. In Price Boulevard right now, everyone knows that if you go right now on Price Boulevard, you're going to wait and
not going
anywhere. So the city's doing everything they can to mitigate that, to allow crossroads where you'll see Public Works is in commission meetings are buying lots along waterways across from Salford to Cranberry, connectors to build connector bridges between the North Cranberry, South Cranberry, North Salford, South, so that we can traverse quickly to calls and not have to go all the way down and around, which seconds. I can tell you, in a fight for your life as a police officer, which I've been in, asking for backup, minutes feel like hours, seconds feel like minutes. And I cannot stress enough that, when someone is in need of help, every second matters.
I'm going to say this because you're talking police. And I know you feel this way. It's the same way when you're a citizen and you're in need of police. You don't want minutes, you want seconds.
Yeah.
So it's a. I know you guys have worked on it. I know you've planned for it. We've had those bridges out before. So kind of preemptively of all of these things, we've had to engage in how to work around all those things. So I'm not going to give credit to the Hurricanes for practice makes perfect, but there are reasons that things happen, and we were blessed that we didn't have a lot of damage, but we are also blessed that we got to put together the strategic plan that helps now for the transition with those bridges and road closures and different things like that. So I know there was some value in that for you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, we're getting a brand new EOC. These Price Boulevard widening bridges, the bridges were, as you know, why was Price put off even low? Well, like you just said, um, the hurricanes taught us a lesson, and we had to go back to the drawing boards on those engineering of those bridges, and now those bridges are designed to where they can take a 500-year hit flood, if need be. So I guess maybe it was a blessing in disguise that happened just before and gave our engineers time to go back and refigure those bridges.
Fortification of those bridges is a huge thing.
Yeah.
That there is no doubt in my mind. Just like the hospital, Sarasota Memorial is assessing everything based on that prior flood as they build that whole area. So that plays hand in glove across the board. Elaine's got another question, and believe it or not, I was at lunch today with Bob and Carol and Dave Cater, and we were sitting at Alvaro's, and we had this very discussion about the e-bikes that are on the sidewalks, let alone in private entries and private areas like the Cocoa Plum shopping center. So, can you talk a little bit about the e-bikes and the strategies behind? Gosh, I think they're up to 35 miles an hour now, or maybe higher, on a sidewalk where the speed limit on some of these streets are 25.
Yeah. Now, it's a great question with the e-bikes, and Elaine brings up a good point on that. Right now, in the Cocoa Plum, obviously it's private property, but the owners or whatever could put a zero tolerance to no e-bikes authorized on their private property, and then we could issue the trespass warnings. It's also occurring up in the Welland Park area, where our officers have put in extra enforcement up there, where Publix is at, to where we've been trespassing them. But right now, we have a presentation that we're getting ready to bring forward to commission to educate the commission and the public on the e-bikes usage, of what's allowed and what's going to not be allowed, where you can ride them, where you can't ride them, how old you can be. And obviously, believe it or not the age of question right now is these are the type of technology what sometimes comes out and evolves faster than legislation can address. And I can tell you right now, the legislation is identified this as being an issue across the entire state of Florida. And there's a House bill right now. Yeah, well, I can tell you the state of Florida nation, yes, that they're addressing, our legislators. I can speak for our legislators, can't speak for everybody else, is that they're addressing this to where there's going to be certain guidelines to what requires a learner's permit, what requires a driver's license, what point of speed requires it to become an electric motorcycle. All of this is being worked out right now with the legislators, and then it's going to be passed on to the executive branch for enforcement. And when that does, we as a police department are prepared to do a presentation. We're prepared to do a presentation right now, but we're not going to do a presentation when the law is about to change, or we suspect the law is going to change and have the new laws and provisions in effect. So once that is passed, we prepare to do a presentation. But mind you, just recently with e-bikes, I can tell you, between e-bikes and golf carts and LSVs, we are stepping up the enforcement so much to where I'm not sure if anyone's aware that I think it was on Friday, we had a gentleman on an e-bike take off from our officers, a 14-year-old, and the 14-year-old was eventually arrested because they were not complying with the law. They weren't following the officer's commands. And they took off, and we could say safely that we were able to apprehend the child, but the child's going to learn that you don't run from the police, you respect the laws, you obey the laws. So we're taking e-bikes seriously. As once you put an e-bike on a roadway, it's a motor vehicle.
Yep, sure enough. Yeah. Here's a question. Hi, Jerry. My car was damaged by a kid on an e-bike, over $4,000 of damage, which I can believe. And all the police officer could say to me is, nothing I can do about it. What a shame. You're addressing that, but I'm going to go back to drones, because drones back in the day were the same as e-bikes. People were buying drones, and now there's license, there's standards that are put in, and those are higher levels now. That they are more federal guidelines, but the e-bikes are in that same category where technology just advanced and blew through so quick, nothing could catch up. But do you want to address Jerry's situation?
Um,
The
his
best
car
you can.
his car was damaged. Was it in a parking lot? I guess I have a lot of questions, because if it was in a parking lot, or in a roadway, and he was on a bicycle, it's really no different. Or I'm sorry, not a bicycle, an e-bike. It's really no different if a bicyclist hit your car, and if the bicyclist is at fault or you're at fault. It really determines of who was at fault. If the e-bike person was operating was at their fault, no, you shouldn't have to do fourth. I really can't answer that without all the facts to that, to that case that he's talking about.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That
So
would
I don't want
definitely
to
make
judge
sense.
him, but that on alone, it's kind of interesting to know, like, the circumstances have led up to how did he get the damage on his car from the e-bike.
That might be. Let's see. What she says is it was in the street in front of the police office. He was at fault.
The e-bike.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
Okay.
So that's an interesting. That might be something that she needs to contact you, and give your email address here real quick, Chris, because that might be an interesting case study for you as a deputy chief to kind of take up and maybe highlight on educational.
Yeah.
It was
It's
10
not on
p.m.
there.
It was 10 p.m. at night, she said.
Okay. Yeah, if she can, he or she can email me. It's C, and it's my last name, Morales, at northportpdfl.gov.
Yep.
Oh, it's on the header.
Yeah, it is. It's scrolling across the bottom. I just thought I'd give it anyway in case she was not able. But you can always watch back and capture the information. And Chris is really good about getting back email wise. And I know that you would take great concern into that.
Yeah, we can look into that on the e-bike. So, like I said, if you don't know about it, can't do anything about it. So at least allow me to look into it and get you some answers as to why.
Absolutely.
And listen, not always our officers are correct, but I can tell you they're pretty good at what they do. But let us look into it, and we can get you some answers.
And it says, how Elaine Emmerich again, how will the city handle anyone who challenges a school zone speed camera ticket? That's interesting.
Yeah, so Elaine's got great questions. So no different than someone who wants to challenge a parking violation in the city, a code enforcement violation in the city, or trespass in the city. They have the right to appeal and go in front of what's called a magistrate in the city. So it's the same magistrate that oversees the code enforcement hearings. They would come here to the city and stand in front of the magistrate to justify their reasons of contestment.
Okay. Well, I know that we've had that magistrate's been there for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been in for a few years now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thank God. I knock on lots of wood. I haven't had to engage. But all those things are part of a growing city. We are definitely handling our business differently than we did 20 years ago. 24 for me. I remember Tulane Sumter. I remember just having McDonald's and Wendy's. So I can't go back as far as you did, but truthfully, our city has changed. And another great question by Elaine, because we were talking about magistrate. Who pays for that?
The magistrate?
Yeah,
the city.
So we actually cover that.
It's under law. You have to.
Okay, awesome. So Zio's 1221 Pizzeria, restaurant and catering. I'm positive he has no idea who you are or any of your officers. I'm making a joke
Oh
there.
yeah, we don't know Zio's 12. He knows
Yeah,
it.
not at all. Not
Great
at all.
pizza.
Just a great pizza place.
Oh
Go
yeah.
get some food. Uh, Morales, you all are the best. Let's crack down on the e-bikes ASAP. And I have seen multiple e-bikes speeding down through the walkway at our location. The shopping centers have got to be going crazy over this because they're not true bikes anymore. They're really going at a quick clip, and you got people coming in and out. That's going to be a hard thing to handle within the private sector. But
Yeah. So
um, go
one
ahead.
of one of the things we can do, with, especially, and it's just like Elaine asking about the Cocoa Plum, and I was talking about Welland Park, is that and especially with the businesses, is get with the land management or the plaza management team there and your guys' plazas, and allow us to work with them to where we become, um, they allow us to become what's called agents, to where law enforcement officers can see and take action if they see anybody that's riding e-bikes in their plazas, which is a zero tolerance for the plaza owners or the management firm or group, that we could take action and issue them trespass warnings. And if they continue to come back and ride in the plaza, then we can certainly now they're looking at arrests or court appearances for that.
I know we have bikes in the police force, and we have the motorcycle crew now, which I absolutely love, by the way, because the bikes are beautiful.
I love motors.
As a rider, I love it, and I have gone up and talked to them about how they ride and everything else. But they look fantastic. Um, that whole thing. Are we looking at possibly doing some e-bike incorporation?
For it's like active patrol.
Yeah.
Actually, we really haven't looked at that, and I'm not saying that we're not going to, but really it hasn't come up on our radar yet. We're more about education right now and enforcement, but it's not to say down the road that wouldn't be a possibility of putting officers on e-bikes as well.
Okay. I think it's going to, I think we're coming to it at some point. I never thought that drones would be the thing back in when it started. And now look at it. It's a really big deal. Robin Sanfacite said, do you have to go through that procedure because it's considered for the property? I'm assuming she's talking about the private side.
The private property, yes.
Yeah, she just said, yeah, private property.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, when it comes to private property, I mean, there's certain things that we can do that under law that allows us on private property, especially with roadways that connect to main roadways like plazas and stuff. We could still work crashes in a plaza, stuff like that. The law still allows us that. But anything other higher enforcement actions, it really comes down to the property owner's request. So that's something that a property owner would have to give us direction on.
So let's just sit here for a second and educate the public. For those who don't know, what happens in a private parking lot, say Home Depot, if you get in a car wreck? What, as deputy chief, what would you recommend that they do at that point for protection?
I mean, immediately, what I would do is take photos, take photographs of your car, your positions of your car in a parking lot. Obviously, don't cause a scene, don't cause an argument. Just take your photos. Accidents happen, but we generally see sometimes that people get into arguments. Just wait for the officers, let them. But definitely, I would say with phones and cameras these days, grab some quick photos, grab some quick shots, and take some photos of the car position, because the officers are going to make you move your cars at that point. We'll do a vehicle exchange. Normally in parking lots, you're not going to get someone at fault or a citation because we cannot enforce laws in the parking lots, we can document that the crashes. So if someone ran a stop sign inside a plaza, we can't enforce that because it's not an official stop sign. It's within a actual private property there.
Makes sense.
So there's a lot of things that we're limited to be doing. We definitely can document the crash. But that's one of my advice. If my wife was asking me, I'm like, hey, honey, just take some photographs, call the police, sit back and wait, and go from there. So that's the simplest piece of advice, because accidents are going to happen, especially in these parking lots.
And they're busy. They're busy parking lots. So I know that you guys are very well connected with Walmart, with Shop with a Cop, and the things that you guys do on a voluntary basis. But some of these stores that we didn't used to have,
Yeah.
You've now been through the growth.
Yep.
How is the relationships with the businesses now? Zio's Pizza is another example, because we're just busy all the time. A lot of those restaurants are busy, but how are the patrolling of those entities figured into what we do? And I don't want to give away information. I just want you to highlight the care that goes into the business side of things, and that safety, along with the safety of the citizens.
Yeah, and with our businesses, as we continue, listen, we try to be visible in our parking plazas as much as possible. Our officers, but there were times when there were times when I started here, we were assigned plazas, like to go into inspect and check and to make known. And even at night, we used to be able to pull on door handles, spotlight door handles. Make sure your officer check. My supervisor would put his business card in one of the doors just to make sure that you knew that he was there, or you found it. Like, you had to do that. Those are back in the days. Today, we have evolved so much. We're so big that it's so important that we just at least get into those plazas, be known, be seen, to where we're deterring any type of criminal activity, or any type of disturbance that could maybe be causing. So, but our local businesses here, just again, the biggest supporters of our police department, they go above and beyond, to where I can tell you there's law enforcement officers that come from different states that are working for our agency right here, right now. And I can tell you right now, it's scary, it's sad. They are blown away with how they are treated in this community, because they've never been treated with so much respect, gratitude, appreciation, and love from where they come from. And it makes you very humble, and it reminds you, don't take for granted what you have here in this great community and great city. So very, very, very proud and humbled on it. But to circle back to the vehicle crashes in parking lots, the one thing I do want to add with people, just be very cautious of, if someone just wants to exchange information with you, and you just do that. The moment you exchange information and you go outside, you're now turning that into a civil matter. You don't call police. If later things don't work out between Chris and John, it's going to be very, very tough for you to actually try to recover anything, because you've now been days later, you've turned it into a civil matter versus documentation of a crash. So my always recommendation is just at least get it documented on a crash report, and work it out between the insurance companies, or you can still work it out for each other if you do. But if you don't, at least you have something to fall back on that has teeth that you can actually go after with the insurance company. We see that time after again, people just trust the other person, and then they go off the path and they can't get a hold of them. And we're like, oh, sorry, you didn't call us, and you try to handle it in a civil matter. And you can do self-reporting, but that's going to be it. You don't have any other information, and they could have gave you bogus information.
Right.
So the best thing to do is call us.
That documentation in an accident. I years ago, I had a situation, and it was with a friend. That did not turn out well, because that lack of documentation. It was. I hate to date myself on this one, but I didn't have a cell phone back then, so I couldn't snapshot it. We were landlined, so we're in a different age, and the pictures, the photographs, the positions of the cars. Don't just take one side. Move around. Take all angles so that everything is explainable and then turn on your video. If you can video it, video it. But I think de-escalation, when you hit somebody's car, that's when you get out of the car. If you're thinking de-escalation and just documentation, especially on private property, that is more crucial than anything. Would you agree with that?
100%, 100%. Always just be calm. It's an accident, but we've seen several road rage incidents and fights and disturbances over vehicle crashes. But at the end of the day, all you're going to do is make matters worse. So just call us, let us document it, and if you guys decide to work it out amongst each other, that's great. And again, it all depends on the significant amount of the damage. It's very minor. You guys, you have options.
Yep. I'm going to throw something in here real quick because it was all over the national news. We have not had any massive pickleball event breakouts here, fights that we've had to include law enforcement, have we?
No.
So we're staying out of that national press.
I keep hearing it evolving though about pickleball. Even my family, my brothers and my nephews are trying to get me to go play pickleball. So I know it's a evolving sport.
Well, if I want to see Mike carrying a TV playing pickleball just for advertising purposes.
No, good luck with that.
Huh?
Good luck with that.
No, I know your brother well enough that I know how much of a joke that was. But I could still see Mike out there supporting them and saying good for you and then walking away. Yeah. But it's kind of funny the things we're talking about today, even with what you said, checking the doors in the business arena. We just driving down 41 right now, we look totally different than we did 10 15 years ago. Our city is changing. We're not ever going to be Sarasota. And truthfully, once Price Boulevard is done, you can still get across town in 15 20 minutes if you really want to. So all the people that talk about the tension of traffic, I don't want to say that you're mislabeling it, but label it correctly. It's still a 20-minute run. I just did it the other day. 22 minutes if I have to take 75 now that price is down. That's pretty phenomenal when you're talking about 104 square miles.
It is. And I can tell you right now, 104 square miles. Let's just take this back. You have how big our city is. Our city starts at the 172 mile marker off of Kings, just north of Kings Highway, and it ends at the 185. That is a lot of mileage. You got 13 miles, right, of interstate in a city. That's huge.
It is. It's massive. We are now 12 minutes away. I can't believe we've been talking for 43 minutes, and it's flying. And we've had I want to say thanks for all the engagement into the community. It's been phenomenal. I love seeing it. If you'll join us next Monday, we have Chief Titus or some representation from the fire department, and that is always an engaging another moment for citizens to learn more about what we do. I know that I've picked up some things from you in this conversation, and I want you to reiterate to the listeners out there. We don't talk about these things. We just start a conversation, and that's why it's called Real Talk. We don't have a plan. We don't have an agenda.
It's all impromptu. So yeah.
It is, and I love it because citizens get to ask their questions. Jerry and Robin and Elaine, of course, all asking really good questions, and really, I think that's the best way to learn is to keep asking questions. But I'm going to ask you something about the town hall meetings and things that you guys are engaged in, because I know that you have a very, very good presence when the city puts their people out on the spotlight. And really, that's an impromptu too. because people can ask you all kinds of questions. You guys are engaged all 24/7 with citizenry being able to approach you. How does that make you feel that you've come through multiple leaderships? Where does that put you in your mental status, knowing that even the city level of participation is at a higher level than I think it's ever been? And I don't think it was bad before. I just think it's higher than it's ever been.
Yeah. It's a proud moment, but B, it's through legitimacy and trust, follow through. Because if you didn't have any of those, people wouldn't be approaching you, wouldn't be coming to you. Mean what you say, stand for what you mean for, be there for your people. Because I'm a servant. Servanthood. That's my upbringing. My job, my badge is to serve the community, to the people. My oath is to, the U.S. Constitution, the city charter, and the people. And to me, to where people approach me, it's and it's proud. It's a proud moment to know that we have that trust in that position of we stand before you, we trust you, we believe in you, because that's what's more important. If I didn't have that, if I didn't feel that, John, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. I feel like I would fail. And just growing up, always inspired to be a police officer ever since I was in the third grade. Growing up here, working for the agency that I grew up for, I have a vested interest here. So everything I do is calculated, thought through about how is it that I am protecting to the best interest with all the means possible, a great city and a great community. And I'll always be that way to the last day I'm here. And even probably when I leave here, I'll still always have the best intentions of keeping this city safe. And, so that's kind of how I look at that. Is it's a sense of pride and proud. And I don't, if someone's out there doesn't feel that way, I want to work with them. Tell me why you don't feel that way.
Yep.
How do I change you? And some people you can't change, but I have the drive and the belief that I want to. And if you have someone on one side of the corner that wants to do that, to me that's a win. If you don't have a leadership team that doesn't want to make change or doesn't want to try to meet common ground with someone, and it's going to be troubling. It's going to be troubling. So just want to work with people, appreciate people, and serve the people.
Well, I'm going to give a shout out. One of my sponsors, Diane Carr with We Care Properties. Reach out to her. She does a home watch program, and so if you're out and about and you're not going to be here, utilize her service, because having an extra body going in and out of a home checking on things, police is different today than it was 10, 15 years ago. I know when I grew up, it was we used to play tag with our police department, and they would shine their spotlight on us to make us hit, and then we'd have to restart the game. But I don't think police officers have that time that we used to. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, and it's recorded, but I swore I would never say back in the day, and I've said that more in the last 2 or 3 years than I ever have. But I'm super excited about the opportunity of what's coming here. I look at it as you guys are strategically planning our safety through a completely different look than we all grew up with. You're incorporating the electronics, the motorcycles, the different things that cities just didn't have back then. And I don't even think they thought about it budget wise. And you guys are creative with your budget, trying to strategically make sure that everything is covered. We got to give kudos to you guys for budget control, because we really haven't had, I think it's 6 years now where we haven't had the tax increase here in the city. Now, I'm warning everyone, when you don't have them for 6 years, when you get one, you can't be pissy about it. I guess you can, but I think it's phenomenal how you guys assess things and address different needs with technology today, um, and kind of fit them all together and yet keep us all safe and protected. Because I can't say it really as a realtor here in our local market, but what what is our safety level? What you guys talk about this all the time. What do you see as our position now with safety and how
Well,
people should feel about our city?
I can tell you right now, when we compare other municipalities to agencies, to city size population in the area, we're one of the safest. And we've always provided that to the community and to the commission when asked to show that data. Um, but I can tell you right now, we would not be the second fastest growing city in the country if people weren't doing their due diligence and researching and looking at the crime trends of Sarasota County or the city of Northport, or looking at the school system to see how the education level, that all of those, believe it or not, play a factor into why people come and live here.
Absolutely.
I can tell you right now, if we were not a safe community, we would not be having the growth that we're having today.
Well, and I'm going to say this out loud too, because people talk about it all the time, that their home values are keep elevating. Well, okay. I tell you what, put crime in your community and watch your home value. You know, right now we're controlling that. We're assessing. Where your guys are addressing these things. Talk about a direct connect to home value and community value when you have a police force and a fire department, along with city staff and what they do. But safety, safety, safety. If you take those three words and you apply them in the city of Northport, we don't have a lot of issue. We just have a lot of, I think, really creative strategic planning that you guys do to implement things to keep costs down.
A perfect example too, and it just came across our email today. We had a DOJ burn grant, or a grant come through Department of Justice for funding for gun violence, right? So, I fired off to the team just to look at to see if there's anything in there. And, it's funny enough, the chief responds back. He goes, "We don't have a gun violence issue, knock on wood." But right. So there's a lot of things that we do so good at that there's grants out there for that we can't apply for because it doesn't apply to us, because we have a great community, we have a safe community. So when you have that, it does hinder you a little bit from restrictions of things that are out there, but it's more for those agencies that are having challenges in their community. So again, pros and cons, but we're blessed. I'll take that any day, than having a city that's not safe.
So I've got about 2 minutes left. I want to once again thank the listeners and the followers and the likes. Everybody, you're doing a great job. Please share this out, because the more that we can get this information into the hands of the citizens, that's why we do this sort of thing. The police department does a lot of volunteering out there, but I want you to have an opportunity to maybe highlight some officers and take a minute just to talk about the kudos that you want to hand out
to our officers
and anyone and anybody at police headquarters. Anybody do it, that not that you want to pick on anybody or highlight anyone over anybody else, but collectively, do we have an officer of the month or
we have not an officer of the month, but as you know, one of the officers that's been receiving award recognitions from across the state, Southwest Florida Police Chiefs nominated. He's also nominated for the Florida Police Chiefs. He's won the October. He got the national memorial for life saving was Sergeant Shields. And for those of you who don't know, that Sergeant Shields was driving down 41 back in October of 2025, and there was a child that was running in the middle of 41 in the middle lane, He spun around immediately, saw the kid, and there was an oncoming car coming in the lane that did not see this kid. Sergeant Shields immediately drove his car across the median, put his car with his lights on in between the motorist coming and child, and got the car that would have ultimately hit the kid, got the car to swerve off the roadway. Definitely a life-saving moment, heroism at its best. And for that, he's been being recognized across many different platforms of organizations that look for officers heroisms and everything, and he's being recognized for that. So, but again, it was just one of those, we can count endless of the men and women in this department that everything they do is continuous, doing out there, doing great things. And they don't expect recognition. They're not looking for thank yous. They're just proud. And our telecommunication team, and again, I talk about the unsung heroes, our telecommunications team here in our city. They give that extra, relationship and that standing of knowing their community, knowing the area, and they give that pride when someone's calling for help. And can't be more proud of our dispatch team, our forensics and evidence team here. They're all working behind the scenes, and to give that elite police service, professional service that we have here in the city. So it's just, again, we have a great team here, a great family, and people are proud to work for the city of Northport with the Northport Police Department.
Fantastic. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I have heard, but I did not know the true backstory to that. So that's fantastic. I want to end with a little note from the CVRA family. Joe Newman, one of our show hosts, passed away suddenly. And also Sean Kirkpatrick's wife suddenly passed away. So we, as a organization, send our condolences to all the family members and friends and any of the followers that are out there in this time. It's one of the most difficult things to do in leadership. And I know that you guys have had to do that in the police department. And the fire department has just recently done that with one of theirs. So I wanted to extend that courtesy out to our two families that are and their friends and loved ones to show support. So I appreciate you coming on, Chris. I appreciate you,
Thank you for having me, John.
being an open book about all this stuff. It's really helpful to our community, and I'm glad you're there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And for all you listeners and followers, join us on Monday as we have someone from the Northport Police Department. And in 2 weeks, we will have a city commissioner live on the air and asking questions the same way we did today. Thank you so much. Well, next week is the fire department. The week after is the commissioners.
Yeah, you said the police department.
Oh, I did. Okay. Sorry.
No problem. We're good.
I have to go back and do a typo. But anyway, you guys have a blessed day, and thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you soon.